Hi, my chicken babies. How are you today? I hope you're doing well. I'm doing pretty good today. Feeling good. Today I again have another reading, but this one's all about why they haven't reached out and if they will reach out. I want to focus more on why they haven't reached out. And then I'll kind of briefly talk a little bit about if they're going to reach out. I am going to do a reading probably next week if they will reach out. But the next reading I plan on doing is if you guys will ever be in each other's lives. So I'm kind of on a roll right now of doing readings in regards to connections and people that you're probably in no contact with. Yeah, there's other readings though I have if you want to check out other things like career or something like that. Anyway, we've got two piles here today. We've got pile number 1 with this Sagittarius charm, and that's just the regular deck. That's what the charm looks like. Got pile number 2 with this green hand. Look at that. And that's with the Cosmic Cycles Tarot deck. So go ahead and take a deep breath and choose whichever pile resonates. The timestamps will be down below as per usual. Okay, pile number 1. This is for everyone that chose the traditional deck, Rider Waite, and or a traditional deck because there's 2, and the Sagittarius charm. So let's get into it. Let's see, why haven't they reached out? Why haven't they reached out? Okay. Why haven't they reached out? Let's see. Oops. We're going to keep that. This card failed. We got the Hanged Man. Okay, and the Lovers coming out straight away. The Ace of Cups, the 3 of Swords. They're in love with you. Let's see. We got the Hanged Man, the Lovers, the 3 of Swords in reverse, the Ace of Cups, got the 8 of Wands, the 3 of Cups. The 3 of Cups is a reconciliation card for me. The 2 of Cups, the Sun in reverse, the Moon in the World. These need to be switched. Okay, thank you for telling me, Spirit. Bottom deck energy, it's the Knight of Cups. A lot of love here. A lot of romance. I honestly, my first impression was, why haven't they moved out if they're like in love with you? I don't understand. Anyway, I know at first I was joking and I was like, they're in love with you, but like, honestly, it feels like they are in love with you. And you know, and I want to be very honest and say that like, I don't want you to think of this as like false hope or like, you know, something like that. Like, be very mindful about how you feel. Be very mindful about taking only what resonates. But there is definitely a strong indication here with the Lovers, the 2 of Cups, the Ace of Cups, the Moon, the 3 of Swords in reverse, the Sun in reverse. There's a sense here that they almost broke their own heart. That the reason why they haven't reached out is I almost feel like with the Moon and the Ace of Cups, they've come to realize their faults in love. It feels to me, honestly, with the Hanged Man and the 3 of Cups, it feels to me, number 1, they do think a lot about reconciling or reaching out. But number 2, it feels a lot like they left you hanging as a friend. It feels a lot like with the Lovers and the 2 of Cups, this wasn't a friendship. This was something that clearly had more than a friendship element to it with the Lovers and the 2 of Cups. It was a strong partnership. Now, don't get me wrong. With the Lovers and the 2 of Cups, you know, this does represent partnership and love. So it could, you know, potentially not be romantic, but we have the Ace of Cups, the Knight of Cups, and then we have like the Hanged Man with the 3 of Cups. And so it's such a strong feeling that this person friend zoned you or said, no, I only want to be friends. But the Lovers and the 2 of Cups indicates to me that the entire friendship was based off of this deep lie that they weren't in love with you. I don't know if deep lie is the right, because as soon as I said that, I didn't feel right. I don't, because, okay, when I sit in the energy kind of these other, like this, like other energy or whatever, I get this impression that they did want what was best. They didn't want to hurt you. They weren't trying to break your heart. You know, with the Sun in reverse, the Three of Swords in reverse, there's a sense here that one party in the situation got really, really, really heartbroken. And with the Sun in reverse, it does feel like it's taken time for the other person in the situation, or the other, you know, the person you're thinking about why they haven't reached out. It feels like they themselves, the Sun in reverse, don't want to address the heartbreak. They don't want to address how much they hurt you, because that wasn't their intention. And I'm not saying that to justify any of their behaviors or anything like that, because it does feel very painful for this group, pile number one. It feels very much with the Hanged Man and the Three of Cups, like they literally said we would be, you know, you guys would be friends. They literally said that, you know, I say we, as in like, all of us, but, yeah, I don't know. It just feels like in some way they like gave up on the friendship as well. And, you know, it kind of feels like why they haven't reached out, honestly, is like with I just realized we have the Sun and the Moon. With the Sun and the Moon here, I don't want to say that there's still learning for them to do in regards to this, but they're still addressing it, like the elephant in the room. Like with the Ace of Cups and the Moon here, there's a sense of like this subconscious energy. I feel like in some way too that you weren't the first person they did something like this to. And I get that impression with the Moon in the world here in the Eight of Wands. It's a cycle. It feels like they might, I feel like the reason they haven't really reached out is because they've realized this cycle about themselves. And it's not that beforehand they didn't realize it, but beforehand, it's almost like they would get so defensive they couldn't even take accountability for this cycle. And I think that that cycle is with the Ace of Cups promising some sort of cup of love. Either they do it to other people, maybe they lead people on, maybe they've fallen in love with their other friends and then they got really scared with you. But there's a sense here that there is so much fear in offering you a cup of love, or so much fear in grounding this connection that I think that they just did the opposite. With the Hanged Man and the Three of Cups, it's like they put you in a box, they compartmentalized you, and that was that. This feels very similar to a situation I went through, and I'm, you know, like when I channel it and stuff, I like literally see some of the scenarios I went through. And with the Three of Swords in reverse, the Sun in reverse, that for me is like, there's heartbreak, there's grief, there's like literally being stabbed in the heart, right? Just like it shows. But with the Sun in reverse, it's a lack of illumination. It's a lack of truth. It's a lack of seeing the full picture. And that leads me to believe that, sorry, my mom called. Anyway, I was saying that there seems to be this like lack of truth. And I kind of feel like that applies to both sides. It feels like on one hand, part of the reason they haven't reached out is I think in some way, it's not that they don't know that they broke your heart, but I think that they don't know how to like deal with that. I think it's just always been easier for them to walk away from things and to let it go, and to maybe just like continue on, you know, with the Eight of Wands, the world, that's what it feels like. It feels like with the Eight of Wands, they quickly move forward, they quickly move on. With the Knight of Cups here, they might even like move on to flirting with new people, dating new people, trying to date new people, what have you. And it's not that they don't care, it's not that they don't miss you, it's not that they don't think about you, and it's not that they don't want to reach out, but it's that they lack a lot of, I would say, courage, but the courage is more in exploring themselves. It's not that they wouldn't reach out, and it's not that they don't have the courage to reach out, but it's that they don't feel like they have anything to say, I guess. It feels in some way like they don't know how to say what they want to say. They don't even know what they want to say. They feel bad that they hurt you, but part of the reason they won't reach out is with the Ace of Cups and the Moon, they have to address this cycle they do with multiple people. It's not that you weren't special, or it's not that what they felt about you wasn't real or real love. But with the Hanged Man and the Three of Cups and then the Moon and the Ace of Cups, it's very much like they've done this to multiple people. They've done this, you know, this whole Hanged Man and the Three of Cups, the Ace of Cups and the Moon. It feels like they kind of lead people on maybe and keep them close as friends. But with the Ace of Cups and the Moon here, it's very much, I'm going to offer you my cup of love. But with the Moon here, I'm very afraid. I've got deep subconscious kind of shadow work I need to do. I might withdraw that from you deep down. I'm feeling unsure about this decision. And paired right next to the sun in reverse with the Three of Swords, it's almost as if they view themselves as like the Ace of Cups, but in reality, they go around hurting people like the Three of Swords. And it gives me the impression that they are kind of a little bit flip-flopped. They think that their love is so great and beautiful and wonderful, and that they feel really bad. They just didn't maybe feel that way about you. And it kind of feels like with the Hanged Man that they tell themselves that, you know, but at the same time with the Sun in reverse and the Three of Swords there, they do break people's hearts. And with the Sun in reverse, there's a sense of like a lack of illumination on that for them. And I think that where you need to maybe take more accountability is in giving them accountability, in giving them the responsibility of some of the hurt and pain that they caused you. I also think that in some way, there is this sense of like with the Three of Swords in reverse and the Sun, you know, in reverse, they did, it feels like, tell you no, or they did, it feels like in some way tell you they don't want something or tell you they weren't ready. And it's not to say that what they're doing wasn't emotional manipulation or they weren't using you, but there is this need for you to recognize that and listen to that. They're telling you how they feel. And although you can tell it's maybe not the truth, or though maybe you can tell that they do have deep feelings, you have to listen to their truth right now a little bit. I think that there's this sense, and I also say that personally too, as someone that has been in a situation very similar that's coming out in these cards. If there is one thing I regret, it's not listening to him. It's not listening to him say no. It's not listening to him tell me he doesn't want something. And without a doubt, more than ever do I believe that person was madly in love with me. But with that being said, it was never my responsibility and it was never my choice to go against what he had told me. And that's where I now take my accountability. And it does feel like in this group, you guys also kind of have to take that accountability a little bit. That this person may have used you, this person may have led you on, whatever it was. With the Ace of Cups, the Moon here definitely showed you they had feelings and definitely acted like they had feelings. With the Lovers and the Two of Cups and the World and Three of Cups, for sure they showed you that. And it feels like they probably treated you differently in front of others. But it also feels like they're doing the best that they can in regards to communication. And them not being good at communication isn't a you thing, and you cannot change that. They have to change that from their core. And that's kind of what the Sun and the Moon is representing here with that Three of Swords in reverse. They have to face their own heartbreak. They have to face what in childhood or what in their life created such a toxic system or a toxic cycle that they keep themselves in and put others in. And that's on them. And I feel like part of the reason they're not reaching out is like, I don't know, it feels like, okay, when I sit in the energy, it feels like this. It feels like they reflect on you a lot and they're like, you know, I do feel bad and I hope one day our paths could cross. But there's a sense of like thinking about it and then suppressing it. Like almost so like overwhelmed that they're just kind of like, well, that's life and that's how it is. And I guess we were like just not meant to be, or I guess we weren't meant to be friends even, blah, blah, blah. But they're also not taking their own accountability. And that's where you have to let go a little bit and let them take their accountability. It feels like they're not reaching out because they are in a lot of fear. And the fear isn't about you or about the connection. The fear is literally their own deep-seated, like, unlovable feelings. You know, with that Three of Swords, that Ace of Cups, it's almost like they break other people's hearts without realizing it because their heart is so broken. And they just don't take accountability for that yet, and that's really not on you, and that's really also not for you to try to push. You know, that is their journey and that is part of their life lesson. Let's get some oracle cards. Why haven't they reached out, Spirit? I do feel like too, you know, there's with that Eight of Wands in the world, they might be traveling, they might be thinking of traveling, but there's other distractions in their world right now too that are kind of preventing them from also deeply kind of reflecting, healing family issues. Are we not surprised by that? I was just talking about that. I was just talking about how they, oh my God. Retreat. It's time to disconnect from the world as well. Okay, so with both of these cards coming out, I will say that they are thinking about their family issues deeper than I was initially thinking about. I just feel like if they're able to kind of reflect on their family issues and kind of heal from their family issues, we got release your ex. Time to clear your energy. This doesn't necessarily have to be an ex person, but it does feel like part of the reason they're not reaching out is because of they haven't released past childhood wounds. They haven't released past energy that's been caught, like, you know, really stuck in them. And in order for them to get to the core of things and take a self-accountability, they have to do those things. So they have to like release a lot, clear a lot, do a lot of family healing, retreat. But I think part of the reason they haven't reached out is because that's kind of their lesson right now. That's kind of what they're learning. Okay, we got the wolf, we got the rebellion. We got solitude and milk. So I did, when I started shuffling, shuffle with the intention of also asking when they might reach out to, because I did say at the beginning, I would talk a little bit about that. Okay, so we got solitude, we got rebellion. Rebellion is all about independence, barriers, isolation. Solitude is pretty much the same too. I feel like both of those cards are very much the same. Well, they're different, but they are, you know, very similar. Because solitude, the Alejandra card, I can never say the last name of that author. This here though is more about like silence, like, because you need space, you need to figure out your stuff, right? The rebellion is more about like needing to do it, not necessarily because you're rebelling, but more needing to do it out of like need, like it's for like yourself. Well, actually the other one is also for yourself, so I don't want to say that because I feel like that's a very redundant, that's kind of the same energy, more or less. But I feel like with the rebellion, there's just a lot more independence. It's like way more of a choice. And so with all of that being said, with the rebellion and the solitude, number one, there's like major theme of like needing space and time to heal their issues, needing space and time to come to realizations. And they have to do it on their own. It feels like if they're not able to come to these realizations on their own, they will never, ever, ever change at the core. And I think that's also what's being said by the rebellion and the solitude. There is a sense here that they will reach out one day, but they're going to reach out after they've done a lot of reflection. It's like, this might not be what you want to hear, but it's really feeling like a couple years. And I know that's never what anyone wants to hear, but it kind of feels like randomly one day they message you 2 years later and tell you everything. It really feels like, and you know, the wolf itself is also about being alone. The wolf itself is about expansion. It's, you know, it in some way being the lone wolf, but it's really longing for yourself again in some sense. But, well, in this deck, it's kind of that. But in this deck, it also represents a lot of like wisdom and expansion and kind of being yourself without others, learning how to be in yourself, learning how to be yourself, all of that sort of energy. And then we got milk. So again, I do think that like after a long period of time of milk is like nostalgia, it's parents, it's again, healing family issues. And it's also like nourishment. So I do feel like through time, you know, they need time right now to really reflect on their childhood. I think that they're going to go through a lot of reflection, a lot of deep analyzation. And then after that, they'll reach out. I would say it's going to be some time. Energy shifts and changes though. So don't take the time frame too seriously, but just know that they are starting their journey of like a lot of family healing. And that is honestly the core of the situation between the two of you, was rooted in their treatment as a child. And they've projected a lot of that out. So I think they're going to have to go through those family issues, then do that self-reflection, and then take that self-accountability. And then they would be able to reach out. Okay, pile number one, I'm going to end your reading there. Thank you for joining me today. I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Hi, pile number 2. How are you guys? This is for everyone that chose the green hand. That's what it looks like. It's just a green hand that goes on your finger. Okay. This is all about, okay, let me focus. Will they reach out? And when? At the end, I'll go through briefly about like when, but this is mainly about why they haven't reached out. So let's get into it. Pile number 1 was really interesting. Very, very interesting. A lot of childhood wounds. Nine of Swords in reverse. Anxiety. 2 of Pentacles. 9 of Wands. So pile number 1 definitely felt like a friend, that there was romance involved. Pile number 2 right off the bat feels like more of a friendship or like a family member. But let's get the rest of the cards and see. The Emperor. Yeah, it definitely does feel like it could be your family. It doesn't have to be. It could be a romantic connection. As I say that, the 2 of Cups comes out, which is all about partnership, soulmates. But yeah, no, it does also feel like it could be tailored towards your family. Pile 1 felt very clearly it was like a romantic interest. Okay. King of Cups. We got the Hierophant in reverse, which was also in pile number 1. We got the 7 of Cups, the Star, and then we got the King of Cups with the 5 of Pentacles. I'm going to keep this at the bottom of the deck. The 5 of Pentacles in reverse is down below next to it. So that's also quite interesting. Hold on. Let me just, there we go. I needed a bit of a stretch and yawn. Okay, so with the 9 of Swords, the Emperor, why haven't they reached out? Their ego. No. I do feel like they have a lot of anxiety with that 9 of Swords in reverse, but with the Emperor, I do feel like they hide a lot of their anxiety through kind of acting like everything's okay. Through kind of like, I wouldn't say necessarily avoidance, but there's this sense with the 9 of Swords in reverse that part of the reason they haven't reached out is they think that the situation brings them a lot of anxiety. It brings them a lot of, anxiousness, it just not good feeling. And it's not you or something like that, but I think it's like the fact that they let you down so much, or the fact that they couldn't take accountability. I don't know. There's just this sense with the 9 of Swords in reverse that they feel a lot of anxiety and they feel really upset over the situation. But with the Emperor, it's very much like they're appearing to the whole world that they've got it together, that, they're kind of not that bothered, that it doesn't really affect them. But with that 9 of Swords in reverse, it's very likely that it does. It's very likely that deep down it makes them very anxious, but they mask their anxiety through their ego. So I would definitely say with the Emperor here and the 9 of Swords in reverse, part of the reason they haven't reached out is like it's a coping mechanism to kind of, just suppress it, press it down, and just fake it till you make it and say, no, nothing's wrong. And that's kind of the thing with the 2 of Pentacles in reverse and the 10 of Pentacles, which is another very interesting combination. It's interesting because I feel like with the 10 of Pentacles, it's almost like they daydream with the Emperor, the 2 of Cups, the 10 of Pentacles, and the 7 of Cups with the Hierophant in reverse. It's almost like this here, these clarifiers are like telling me that they daydream all the time about you, or like all the time about you guys kind of like your past memories or creating new memories with you. There's a sense that they do think about you a lot. And they are constantly on their mind, or you're on their mind at least, once a day, once every other day. Quite frequently is what it feels like. But it does feel like in a lot of ways, the reason they haven't reached out is with the 9 of Wands, the 2 of Cups. their guards up. I feel like they're in their ego a lot. I feel like they're really hurt in some way. Even if they hurt you, I think that in some way, maybe by hurting you, they felt that they hurt themselves, which I know is not what we want to hear, and I know that they need to take accountability, but I'm just trying to be very honest about how they feel. And with the King of Cups here, the Star, the Seven of Cups, the Knight of Pentacles, the Hierophant in reverse, you know, there's this sense that they almost felt like they were doing you a favor, that by them not in your life anymore, you'll do so much better. And it's a little bit like, shut up, just take accountability. But it's also like we have to be empathetic towards them and understanding towards them as well, right? With the Knight of Pentacles and the Hierophant in reverse, and I just saw a red robin literally land on a tree right in front of me. Or not a red robin, a red cardinal. Anyway, with that being said, you know, with the Nine of Wands here, their guards up. I feel like deep down with the Two of Cups, the Nine of Wands, they really, really care about you. You know, with that Two of Cups, this is a partnership energy, a soulmate energy. This is someone that we really are on the same frequency with, right? And with the Star here, the Knight of Pentacles, it's very much like, you know, with the Star and the Seven of Cups, it's very much like they see you as this really good person. They kind of put you on a pedestal, but in some way I think they put you on a pedestal so that they themselves don't have to take as much accountability. It's almost like if I self-sabotage and I put you on a pedestal and tell everyone, like, and tell myself how great you are, in that, you know, it's just for the best for us to not be in contact. It's for the best for me to not message you and stuff. I know that sounds very weird, but that's how it feels. It feels like I don't want to say it feels like they feel just not good enough for you or something, because it's not even that simple. It just feels like they almost justify not talking to you, not reaching out by like telling themselves that you're so much better without them reaching out. You're so much better doing what you're doing now. You're clearly happier. You know, you're clearly have, you know, with the Star and the Seven of Cups, you've figured it out. You've weighed your options in some sense. With the Star here, it's like they almost see you shining. But with the Seven of Cups, there is a sense that not everything is as it appears. It's like they see these things from the outside, but because they're not messaging you, because they're not talking to you, they don't really understand where you're at either. And I get this impression that part of the reason they haven't reached out is it's easier for them to stay in their head. It's easier for them to kind of just, it is what it is, and move on, than it is to kind of like with that King of Cups and that Five of Pentacles beneath it, they have to do a lot of deep emotional reflection. There's a sense with the King of Cups, yes, they feel very strongly and they are very emotionally invested in some way in this connection, but they're not. It feels like they hold that close to their chest. It feels like they're not open about that. It feels like they don't talk about that. It doesn't feel like, you know, with the Emperor, the Hierophant in reverse, the Knight of Pentacles, the Nine of Wands, you know, there's a lot of energy here of their guard being up with the Emperor, the Knight of Wands, and then you get to like the Knight of Cups and, the Nine of Wands and the Hierophant in reverse. And it's like slow and steady wins the race. But at the same time, it's like you're not working on your stuff, if that makes sense. Like, not you, them, but like with the Knight of Pentacles here, there's a sense of like them starting to see things, them starting to realize. With the Knight of Pentacles and Star, it's almost like they have such a low self-esteem that they've had to mask their low self-esteem with that Emperor energy, with that energy of, you know, I am good, I'm great, I'm gonna fake it till I make it. And it's not that they're necessarily arrogant, it's just that they kind of like mask their feelings with like very practical energy. It gives me strong earth sign energy. Like, no offense to any earth signs watching this, but people with earth in their big three can be so stubborn, like so stubborn, and not just like, I don't want to do that, like stubborn in the way that they emotionally perceive things. They don't want to see your side of it. They don't want to perceive your side of it. It's very similar in a sense to fire signs too. I am a fire sign, so I relate. But I think sometimes with, you know, earth signs, there's this need to stay still out of principle, to like prove your point out of principle, to not agree out of principle. And I think fire signs get really heated and just want to be right. And then eventually you're like, dude, you're not right though. And you kind of help them understand that they're not right and they're a little bit more agreeable. But it feels like with the earth sign energy, like they have to come to the terms on their own. They have to recognize on their own that maybe what they're doing isn't okay, that maybe what they're doing isn't in the best interest of others as well, that maybe they're not as empathetic as they think that they are. And I think that part of the reason they haven't reached out is because they just have a lot of ego to get through. They have a lot of their guard up with the 10 of Pentacles, 2 of Pentacles in reverse. It is kind of like they see what happened between you guys in a different light. They see it in a way that's like, well, you know, it wasn't like that per se. And it's like, no, but it was. And I think that they're just kind of stubborn and stuck in their perception of things. And instead of kind of addressing things, they kind of, with that 9 of Swords, that 9 of Wands, you know, they keep their guard up. They keep themselves doing the same thing in some sense. You know, but at the same time, they are slowly but surely changing. And I do think that they will reach out eventually, but I think right now with the Hierophant in reverse, the 7 of Cups as well, this is kind of a message here, of like, there's a lot in their life distracting them, a lot of options they have, and working on themselves isn't, you know, the fun option. This isn't something they go to. This isn't their automatic to like reflect and deeply analyze themselves. And I think that there's, you know, kind of just this kind of guard that's up and that's preventing them from kind of reaching out. It's not that they don't think about you and it's not that they don't feel bad, but I think that they keep the memories you guys had very close to their heart and they don't talk about it. I think that they are very guarded when it comes to this connection. And they're going to have to just do a lot more, you know, kind of analyzation before they kind of realize how they actually feel. I almost feel like in some sense, they don't like feeling their feelings. And so because of that, they kind of just like brush over their feelings. They kind of just like, yeah, brush over everything. Let's get some oracle cards. Or they kind of suppress everything and just kind of like, no, don't need to deal with it today. Wow, she flew. Pay attention to the red flags. Okay. Yes, they do have some red flags. That's also why they're not reaching out. Romantic feelings also came out. If they did have romantic feelings for you, number one, that's confirmation, if you were wondering. But number two, codependency. This also came out, I think, in the last pile. Or in one before that or something. Anyway, I do want to say that it kind of feels like if they, you know, did have romantic feelings for you, there is a sense that they do this to others, or a sense that like, yeah, this is their red flag, not yours. I will say with codependency though too, and romantic feelings, there is a sense, now if it's like a parent or something, you know, just ignore the romantic feelings thing. But also with the romantic feelings, don't just think about it as romantic feelings. You can also just think about it as feelings. There's feelings there that are real and worth exploring. Those feelings might be really strong feelings of shame. They might be strong feelings of regret, strong feelings of embarrassment. You know, try to explore your feelings, but also recognize part of the reason they're not reaching out is because they're having a hard time really exploring their feelings on this situation. We've also got codependency as well, which the whole thing might just be about, you know, the whole connection could have had a lot of codependency, but I do think it's in a message here that they're, the wolf came out again. That came out in the last pile, and I just shuffled this 3 times. I don't know. I get this impression with them that part of the reason they haven't reached out is like, they just kind of tell themselves it is what it is, you know, like I can't do anything about it, and they just kind of continue on. Yeah. Okay. The wolf is all about expansion. It's all about the self without others. It's all about kind of wisdom and learning more about yourself in a lot of ways. But we've also got the Tao. We've also got belonging. Let's get one more. Spider. I haven't gotten the spider one in so long. Okay, let's start off with, should we start off with Janet? Belonging. Janet. Janet, where are you? What the hell? Where are you? I'm like trying to find Janet in the book thing. There we go. Being at home, being a stranger, and knowing yourself. Nice. Okay, so number one with the belonging card, this card represents an author or a literary person who spent a lot of time in solitary after being admitted to like some sort of psychiatric ward. If you didn't know about this literary author. Anyway, with that being said, there's a sense of belonging with this card. Belonging, either feeling like we don't belong, feeling like we do belong, or we are at home. But it's really about knowing yourself. And I think that this is kind of a message that they're learning themselves, and they're learning a lot more about themselves. And with all of that being said, part of the reason they haven't reached out is because I think that they themselves are trying to figure out how they feel. And I think honestly, it's easier for them to not think about it sometimes, to not want to open up the can of worms again in some sense. But with like the wolf, the doll, and the spider coming out, you know, the spider is about, it's focusing, it's planning, but it's also like skill building in a sense. And it can also talk about digesting or like digesting things. And the doll talks a lot about our childhood wounds, or our childhood old wounds, and like an illusion. The wolf, like I said, is like a very expansive card. It's talking about, you know, the self without others, expansion, wisdom. With all of that being said, I think there's a sense, number one, childhood, with the family, the belonging, knowing yourself, and the, you know, doll card here, there is this sense of childhood. Now, I do think with the wolf and the spider, there is this energy here that they are going to start practically working on those things, maybe going to therapy, what have you. But I do feel like part of the reason they haven't reached out is a lot of this has to do with old wounds. They don't want to dig up old wounds. They feel like, you know, they know themselves and they don't want to rehash things in some sense, maybe. But I do think at the same time that they don't know themselves as well as they think that they do, and that they're going through a lot of self-reflection right now, a lot of like expanding their mindset, a lot of being alone to kind of really be in their own company. And I think that this is a really beautiful thing for them. I think maybe daunting at first and scary at first, but really, really, really good. And it's not that they are necessarily been in a million relationships per se, but it does feel like they always have someone they're really close to or really attached to. And with that being said, they kind of don't focus a lot on themselves, and they don't deal with some of their old wounds. They kind of just go person to person to person, if that makes sense. Whether that's friendship or not, you know, it's kind of like, if something's not working out with this person, okay, I'm going to just go chill with my best friends all the time, which I love that for them. I do that too. I, you know, love my friends, but there's a sense that they do use distractions to get over things rather than actually dealing with them. And that's kind of what they're saying here, is like, this person partly hasn't reached out because they are like literally having to go through life lessons, in understanding and reflecting on this connection. Okay, pile number 2, I'm going to end your reading there. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time. Bye.